Andrew Wiggins will play a major part of Miami's success this season. But can the Heat put him in a position to maximize his impact? Or will a reported suitor sweep him off the roster instead? We talk about that and the best point guard in Heat history, according to himself, on today's episode of Locked On Heat.
You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome to Locked On Heat, your daily podcast on the Miami Heat, whether you're tuning in on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app. Thanks so much for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. I'm Wes Goldberg, host of Locked On NBA Daily on Real GM Radio, and I'm here with David Ramil. Both of us are credentialed Heat media members who cover this team every day. And David, we have a jam-packed show for everyone today. The Lakers are rumored to be interested in trading for Andrew Wiggins, and we continue our 25 of 25 series with one of my favorite players of all time. But I want to start, before we get to any of that, I want to go back to the Locked On Top 100 player rankings. And one Heat player who didn't make the list was Andrew Wiggins. And I had him on my list, the one that I submitted. I had him ranked 85th, okay? But that said, I get why the network didn't rank him after a forgettable season. You know, the thing that you think about Wiggins last year is he was traded for for Jimmy Butler. But the guy was an all-star in 2022. He helped the Warriors win a championship that season. Again, I understand him not being on the list right now, but there is potential here for a guy who should be a top 100 NBA player. And for as forgettable as Wiggs can be at times, he might be Miami's biggest X factor going into next season. What do you think?
I agree. I think there's a huge potential there because of his two-way presence. The fact that he is a solid defender, although I don't know that we really saw that in a Heat uniform last season. It seemed like he was often out of place or not quite sure about how he fit within Miami's scheme. And I think it was kind of minimizing what we've seen from Andrew over the course of his career. He has the size, the length, the strength, and the knowledge to be able to play defense at a high level. And we just didn't get that version of Andrew in the Heat uniform last year. And so I know he was battling nagging injuries and things of that sort, but I think that kind of minimizes what we've seen from him as far as his potential impact. But if we assume, and look, I think there's enough of a body of work there over the course of that career to say that he is an above average defender. And that being the case, I would expect that this season he'll return to that. And we know what he's capable offensively. As you said, there are games where he'll be quiet, not as impactful as he could be. He'll miss some shots. Maybe he won't be as aggressive. We saw that last year, too, in a Heat uniform. But there were also games there where he had 30 points per game or more, where he was really aggressive, where his shot was falling, where he looked like more of the all-star version of Andrew that we've come used to seeing or expect that he has that potential to reach. And that being the case, that's a really solid role player, a two-way guy who can do a lot. He can be a good defender. He can be a good scorer. He can be a good rebounder. He can make plays for others. That's a multi-skilled player. And so when you look at Miami's roster, I get it. Everybody underperformed last year with the exception of Tyler Hero. And I think not everybody expects that he'll be able to replicate that success. But you've got him, an all-star last year. You've got Norm Powell, who was an all-star snub, according to a lot of people. Bam Adebayo, who's been a regular all-star for many seasons now. And Andrew Wiggins, a former all-star who underperformed in his role in Miami, not to mention the potential of Kel'el Ware. That's a really solid lineup. Mm-hmm. And Wiggins is poised to be a big part of that success if he can regain some of the form we've seen from him over the course of his career.
So he's a guy who's averaged 18 and a half points for his entire career. That's good, man. Like, there is not a lot of guys who have spent 11 years in the NBA averaging close to 19 points per game for their career. He has a bottom of the ledger production that I talk about all the time, but it's still production. It's still there. And despite the fact that he's a former number one pick who is clearly disappointing as a number one overall pick, he's a very good basketball player. To your point, a good two-way player. He could do stuff with the ball in his hands. And I would even argue he's better than just a role player. He's not a star. He's, I would argue, a high-end rotation guy, which is why I had him ranked 85th. That, to me, is high-end rotation players. And Wiggins, like last year, he was a positive on defense for Miami. Miami was 2 points better per 100 possessions defensively with Wiggs on the court, according to Cleaning to the Glass. They were actually worse offense. They were 6 points worse offensively. Now, some of that has to do with the fact that he was replacing Jimmy Butler and some of those, whatever.
Sure.
There's a lot of noise in those numbers, in other words. But I want to even go a little bit deeper into the advanced analytics here, and I want to get into some of these synergy stats because it was a little disappointing, not just because of the injuries that sidelined him for a little bit during his stretch in Miami, but you also just want more. It felt like he never really fit in, right, within the Heat system. So I was asking myself, how could Miami unlock Andrew Wiggins? How could they do him a favor and help Andrew Wiggins help the Heat? And two things jumped out to me. Number one, Miami doesn't have a point guard. They don't have a traditional point guard. It's going to be point guard by committee. It's going to be ball handling, initiating offense by committee. Tyler Hero, Norm Powell, Bam Adebayo, Nikola Jovic, and Andrew Wiggins. Wiggins is going to be part of that. And as a pick and roll ball handler, he was solid for Miami last year. The Heat averaged 0.91 points per possession that Andrew Wiggins was the initiator in pick and roll. That's the same as Tyler Hero. It's not elite, but it's good. And if they had an elite guy, they would just throw it to him and he would do it every play, right? The fact is that the Miami's strategy is let's have a bunch of guys who are good at it and we'll do it by committee. And Wiggins should be part of that committee. On a pretty significant, by the way, volume, over 5 pick and roll possessions per game. I think they should up that to 6 or 7 per game and have Wiggins be a real part of the offense. There's one other part of the offense I want to talk about, but in terms of just him being a pick and roll ball handler, I think that part at least is obvious because we've seen that so much. Going back to his Minnesota days at a very high usage, maybe not that, but he has the capability of doing it in spurts.
Yeah, he's skilled. I mean, there's no denying it. I think it's interesting that we kind of view him through that lens of the #1 overall selection, and that's kind of unfair because he hasn't been that superstar that maybe the Minnesota Timberwolves were getting when they traded Kevin Love to the Cavaliers back in 2014. But that's not to say he's had a disappointing career by any stretch. He's won a championship. He's been an all-star. He's been a solid role player. That's a pretty solid career. He's in his 11th season now when you do the math. And that's pretty impressive that he's been able to be as consistently good as he was. I don't think you're ever going to confuse him with great. And I think that's what the problem was when he was added by Miami, is that you lost Jimmy Butler, who was a clear #1 player, even at this stage in his career. And you were hoping that Wiggins would replicate some of that. And that was just not the case. So
I remember somebody saying something like he would be a better fit with the Heat than Jimmy Butler.
Was that me?
No, that was me.
Oh, okay.
That's me. We'll see. I have not been proven wrong yet. One other thing I want to talk about is his post-ups.
His post-up game. I was just thinking about that.
Yes.
Really saw that. Impressed me because I don't think that I'd noticed that as much as when he came down to Miami, how efficiently he is as a post-up player.
1.21 points per possession as a post-up guy in Miami.
Solid.
That's better than what Jimmy Butler's numbers were. He was a better post-up player per possession than Jimmy Butler last season. Now, last season, Jimmy Butler quit on the team. But 1.21 points per possession, no matter who you are, outside of Nikola Jokic or prime Joel Embiid, is very, very, very good, especially for a wing player. And even in Golden State, they would run stuff out of Wiggins in the post there. They would run their like little pinch post cuts with Clay when he was still there and Steph kind of running off of those screens and stuff like that. Wiggins can do stuff in the post. And we did see it in spurts again, in flashes last year. It was about 2 post-ups per game. And it just felt like there were some games where it was like 4 or 5 and then some games where it was 0, right? Because that's how averages work. But I want to see him being used in the post a lot more. When we're talking about the facilitating, it's not just pick and roll. It's not just bringing the ball up. It's throwing the ball in and then running actions off of that. And Wiggins out of the post with spacing from Hero and Powell and guys like that around him.
Yeah.
There's potential for part of the menu that Eric Spoelstra likes to talk about offensively. The one other part of this that I want to see more of for sure, they didn't use him on cuts nearly enough. And Andrew Wiggins for his career has been an elite cutter. Minnesota, Golden State, his numbers are elite. He averaged 1.36 points per possession on cuts for Golden State last year before he got traded. And that's right around where it's been for his career. It's always been like 1.2 up to 1.3, somewhere like that. It was a high number for him last year. This guy is an elite cutter, great timing, obviously the athleticism to finish basically anything, when he's got a head of steam. They need to figure out how to unlock that part of his game.
Well, it's interesting because I think that's a really good point. And I wonder how much of that could be attributed to, well, he just wasn't really familiar with Miami's offense. I think there's certainly part of that where he just was uncomfortable. And
he was just kind of standing in the corner for a lot. Yeah, that's for sure. He needs a training camp.
Secondly, I think also Miami's lack of a playmaker, like a true point guard, certainly doesn't help in that regard either. You're not going to have somebody with the same kind of court awareness as a Steph Curry or within relation of that system that they've worked down to such a perfect science. They know exactly how to do it. You have to have an uber aggressive, a high IQ level basketball player, which I think is why Jimmy flourished the way he did in Golden State, is because he does fit that criteria, perhaps more so than Andrew. So I think that's a big part of it.
I
also
look at Bam. That's who I like. Can you run Bam as the facilitator up high, as like trail big, and then just have him throw over the top to a cutting Wiggins? That's the part, like an inverted offense. That's where I think Bam can thrive more than just like the dribble handoff stuff. And Nico too, by the way, like Nico can potentially do this stuff. And then obviously if you're playing faster, as you and I have argued that the Heat should, then we're playing in transition a little bit more, and Wiggins is able to cut off of those situations as well.
Yeah.
So these are the things that we're talking about in terms of unlocking Wiggins. There's a lot here that they didn't tap into last season for, again, you're building this plane in the sky. So now with the training camp, this is what I hope Eric Spoelstra is looking at in terms of unlocking Wiggins, because the Heat they are not actively shopping Andrew Wiggins, despite what Lakers fans think. We're going to talk about that. A new report from Dan Wojcicki over what the Lakers might be willing to offer for Andrew Wiggins, plus 25 of 25 continues after this.
Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. And that's why there's Monarch Money, all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all of your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. If you can, maybe you're not necessarily saving the kind of money you thought. Let's say you had a plan, maybe you've got a big expense coming up and it's not working out. The numbers just don't seem to add up. Well, guess what? Monarch is there for you to provide the kind of tools necessary to see where you might be able to save on some of the expenses that you've been incorporating into your budget. Maybe you can cut a little bit from this or that, and next thing you know, those funds can be diverted exactly where you need them to be so that you can make that big purchase or whatever it is that you're saving for with ease. Don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONNBA. We'll be right back.
Thanks for making Locked On NBA or Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Before we get to our 25-25 series, one last thing quickly that we want to touch on here. Dan Wojcicki from The Athletic reported on the Lakers' potential interest in Andrew Wiggins on the heels of Luka Doncic being eliminated, and his Slovenia team being eliminated from Eurobasket. Unreal run for Luka, though, in Eurobasket. Made it to the Elite Eight. Elite Eight, that's not what they call it there, but the final 8 teams there did make it that far, which was way further than that Slovenian team should go, because outside of Luka, that team stinks. So he was very good in the tournament, and Wojcicki was reporting how that might change the calculations a little bit for the Lakers, how they might want to be a little bit more aggressive in their timeline here in terms of, hey, maybe we are willing to give up some future stuff in order to improve the team in the near term, because it looks like Luka is that good and we still have LeBron. He mentions Andrew Wiggins at the right price. And he mentions Andrew Wiggins in that report as a guy that they could potentially be interested in, which I find interesting that his name keeps coming up in Lakerland. But he also reported that they are not likely to give up the 2031 or 2032 picks. And Lakers people keep talking about a package built around Dalton Connect, who, with his name, Dalton Connect might as well change his name to former first-round pick Dalton Connect, because they keep trying to include him as opposed to a first-round pick. And you can hear, right, Rob Pelinka having that conversation with the Heat front office being like, hey, by the way, like, we can't give you a first, but Dalton Connect, we just took him in the first round, by the way. It's like, yeah, he also slid in the first round. You guys seemed like to be the only team that wanted him. And then you didn't even play him last year. So I don't want to spend a ton of time on this, David, but this idea that here's where it is, right? And this is based on reporting. The Heat are not looking to trade Andrew Wiggins, as we just discussed. They're actually pretty excited to see what Wiggins can do in a second season with a full training camp. I think they want to see that first before they make any decision on his future. He's got the player option next year, all these things. And they are certainly not going to give up Andrew Wiggins for Dalton Connect and salary filler. Because every Laker fan wants to be like, here's Dalton Connect.
Understand.
Maxi Kleber and Gabe Vincent. You guys love Gabe Vincent, right? It's like, yeah, they did. Not enough to offer the money you offered for him, though. So I don't see it. Now, if Rui Hachimura is part of the deal, maybe that's interesting. But right now, no. The answer is no. And it's no on Miami trying to move Wiggins, and it's no on the Lakers, including one of those future first-round picks that is actually valuable to Miami. And unless any of those things change, I don't see a trade like this getting done.
No, I just think it kind of speaks to exactly what we've done in the past, where we look at teams that might be struggling and be like, why do they need X player there? And also just offer pennies on the dollar for said player too. But the more I think about it, and I know a lot of fans do tend to agree with this, I think I'm getting bullish about this team. Like, just even from our own exercise of the top 100 list, to have 4 top 100 players, I don't think anybody would necessarily, well, realistically 4 with Andrew Wiggins. I think
Wiggins
he
deserves
to be on it.
Okay,
Yeah, he should have been on top of the 100 players. He's
I
better
agree
than Kel'el Alexander. I think he's a good player, and he could be a potential swing factor in this season because he's better than what he was last year in Miami, and he could really make a huge difference for this team. And that being the case, I think I see this group as a very competitive one that doesn't have their true superstar, but has 5 really good players as starters and some pretty solid backups as well. This is a very good, deep team that is being underrated by many. And hence, I think that's why they think Lakers fans, and Lakers exceptional in being the factor that it is, I think they say, oh, why would you want an Andrew Wiggins for a team that's not going to win more than 35 games? Well, I think they're going to win more than 35 games. And to your point, I think the Heat front office feels the same way, which is why they want to continue to explore that path with Andrew.
I shared more of our reporting on this situation with the Locked On Heat Insider community earlier this morning. So if you want access to that in the future, you could do that with the link in the show notes. But David, this is our 25 of 25 series, looking back at the top 25 Heat players of the last 25 seasons. Each episode, we'll be taking an in-depth look at every player who made the list as voted on by us and our Locked On Heat Insider community through the lens of what made them a definitive part of the franchise's history. We have finally gotten into the top 10. Yesterday, we talked about Alonzo Mourning at number 11, and today we are kicking off our top 10. It's everybody's favorite punching bag, a man not afraid to tell LeBron what's what, and the king of irrational confidence. He was the subject of one of our very first episodes of the Heat Check podcast, David. It is Mario Chalmers.
It's so funny because the things you just mentioned there, all of those specific words are in my historical description of Mario's career, because that is just how indelible a figure he is in Heat history. Mario Chalmers had won a national championship at Kansas over Derrick Rose's Memphis Tigers when he was selected with the 34th pick in the 2008 NBA draft and traded to the Heat that same day for cash and 2 second-round picks. He made an immediate impact his rookie season, starting all 82 games alongside Dwayne Wade, putting up 10 points and nearly 5 assists a game. In his second season, head coach Eric Spoelstra played point guard by committee, with Chalmers getting just 22 starts as Carlos Arroyo and Rafer Skip to my Lou Alston got the majority of the starts that season. Chalmers' production dipped accordingly, despite making 73 appearances that year. But nothing changed the following season, even after the formation of the Big Three, as Mario would continue coming off the bench behind Arroyo while still providing some solid defense and shooting. Never unwilling to take any shot and supremely confident in his abilities, even when playing next to 3 Hall of Famers in the lineup. Chalmers would regain his starting job in 2011 and would maintain the role for the next 3 seasons of the Big Three era. This stint is what really defined Mario Chalmers' career with Miami, with Chalmers' irrational confidence both endearing and frustrating fans. For every big shot, there was a bad pass, and Mario never seemed shy about telling LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, or Chris Bosh that it was their fault. There was at least one notable sideline altercation between Rio and LeBron, and the running gag, even by former President Barack Obama, when the team celebrated one of Chalmers' 2 championships in the White House, was that Rio was sort of the team punching bag / scapegoat. He was the square peg that didn't seem to belong next to the comparative round greatness of his teammates. Yet Chalmers was generally beloved, and his stellar play along with Norris Cole to shut down the hype on Jeremy Lin and Linsanity is fondly remembered by fans and teammates alike. When LeBron left in 2014, Chalmers signed for 2 more years in Miami, but lost his starting job to Goran Dragic when he was acquired in 2015. Chalmers was never quite the same, and in a surprise move, was traded to the Memphis Grizzlies in November 2015. He would suffer an Achilles heel injury late that season, an injury made even more unfortunate as Chalmers was an unsigned free agent. While he had recovered sufficiently by November that year, he went unsigned by any team and did not play that entire season. He did sign a 1-year deal with Memphis in 2017, playing 66 games, mostly as a reserve, and never quite the same player he was. He would become a vagabond of international basketball, playing in Italy, Greece, and Puerto Rico, and then later the G League, until 2021, when COVID restrictions had players missing time regularly as they continued to wait for symptoms to pass. Chalmers was signed as in a 10-day contract in December, but failed to play a single minute for Miami. Chalmers would play in the G League and internationally before finally retiring, a two-time champion that was almost universally loved and sometimes hated, often by the same fans.
So one of my favorite things about Mario Chalmers was the irrational confidence. And I know that he missed some shots, and I know that he did some silly things. And the way you put it, right, his overall averageness next to Dwayne Wade and LeBron James, Chris Bosh's greatness, it just stuck out like a sore thumb for a guy who was a starter for that entire period of the Big Three era, right? There was sometimes where Norris Cole was the starter, sometimes where Carlos Arroyo that first year was a starter, like Ray Allen in that 2014 finals. Remember, he replaces Mario Chalmers in the lineup during the finals series, but for the most part, it was Chalmers who was the starter. And they always tried to find a better Chalmers, and then there was Chalmers, just right there, being like, you can't quit me. When you think you're out, I pull you back in. And that was just the way Rio was. But Eric Spoelstra used to be asked about Mario Chalmers all the time. What do you make of that confidence and things like that? And what he would say, and it sounds like coach speak, but I really do believe this, David. He would say this all the time, some way, shape, or form. He would say, I'd rather have the guy willing to take that shot than the guy who isn't.
Absolutely.
And that speaks to my basketball soul, David. Like, that is, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take stuff. Like, that's why I love Mario Chalmers. It's why I love a lot of players. It's like, I love that confidence. I love the chutzpah. I love everything that it was. People don't understand the level of self-belief it takes to do that on an NBA level when you're sharing a court with arguably the greatest player of all time, Dwayne Wade, and then LeBron James. So I fall for those guys, David. I fall for those guys.
No doubt. On a team that has had Antoine Walker and Dion Waiters, somehow Mario trumps supreme, and we don't even have to ask him. He knows where he falls on that list. He's number one with a bullet. He's just always that guy. But I just always loved how he was so willing to just tell everybody else, no, they just couldn't catch the pass. If they had just cut a little harder, they would have gotten it. And this is about 3 Hall of Fame level players. And to be able to tell LeBron off on the sidelines, I don't know that I've ever seen that.
And he wasn't wrong.
And
the story goes in the 2011 finals, hey, do more, in so many words. He wasn't wrong. He was not wrong. So love Mario Chalmers around these parts. Like I said at the beginning, he was the subject of maybe our first podcast that we did as the Heat Check. It was definitely one of the earliest
jokes I remember from our podcasting career. You have to be a longtime listener, and I don't even know that there exists any of these. There's a bar called Churchill's Pub, known for being a haven for local bands. They just recently reopened their location. Definitely go check it out. And I was sure, because of the vitriol and love for Mario Chalmers, that he just inflamed the fan base the way that he did, that there has to be a local band based in Miami called F Mario Chalmers, because it was just, that was how we would address him every time. Like, I don't know how many games we've been to, and it was just like, F Mario Chalmers. Like, you couldn't separate. That was almost like his nickname, the way that he was always talked about by fans. It was always something frustrating, but also just kind of lovable in the same sense.
Sliding doors moment is next.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season's here. Maybe it doesn't feel that way in Miami, but definitely it's here. FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer, because right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. You'll love using FanDuel. It fits however you like to bet, whether it's player props or building a same-game parlay, or maybe even jumping in live as the action unfolds in each and every game. It makes it so much more exciting, and it's quick and it's easy. It's the best way to add a little bit more energy to your Sunday. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. We'll be right back.
So I do think that Mario Chalmers' reputation has been helped with time, because I look at where our panel ranked him. He obviously cracks the top 10, which I found surprising. I had him at 10 on my list. You had him at 14. The highest he was ranked was 8th by a Locked On Heat insider member. Ooh. The lowest he was ranked was not ranked, Mario Chalmers. The lowest he was ranked, he's part of the community. It would have been number 1. The lowest he was ranked was not ranked. Now, I want to be clear on this. Only one of all of our people who voted on this, only one person did not rank him. And I'm going to believe that that was an oversight.
Yeah.
Because there's no way you don't rank Mario Chalmers. I think that was a mistake. Nobody else ranked him lower than 15th. Of all of our voters, nobody ranked him less than 15th. So he comes in here at number 10, and I think that's awesome. And I love that his reputation has been helped with time, because I do think that we appreciate now how hard it is, point guard, shooting guard, center, whatever, just to find a guy who does fit and can hang around long enough and just won't let you quit him. And I think that's a real skill, and that's Mario Chalmers. But we're short on time here, David. So let's just do trivia really quick.
All right. What city does Chalmers call his hometown?
Anchorage, Alaska.
Ding, ding, ding. Anchorage, Alaska. Good job. What team originally drafted Chalmers in 2008?
So on draft night, he was selected by the Timberwolves and then traded. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Yeah. So he was technically selected by Minnesota. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. There you have it. All right. And the third trivia question. Chalmers was, this is a great start, kicked out of what NBA program to start his career with Miami, one that involved a fellow Heat rookie?
Yeah. This was in 2008. It was, what do they call it? It was the, he was kicked out with Michael Beasley out of like the, I know exactly what it is, but what is it called? It's like the NBA rookie symposium. It's like the welcome to the league symposium thing. I forget what it's called.
You give yourself a half point for that.
Every rookie has to take it. They're part of it, and they got kicked out of it.
That was so Mario. It's the rookie transition program.
The rookie transition thing. All right.
And there,
that's a full point. Come on, I knew what it was.
F point. It's still good. But anyway, yes, the idea that he and Bees were just high as hell going to the rookie transition program doesn't speak highly of what your NBA career. Yet both of them lasted for a number of years in Miami, of all places, where that doesn't really get tolerated all that much. And just to go in there blazing along with a teammate of his, Darryl Arthur, who has also played for Kansas, and he went in there blazing as well. So it was just a heck of a start to a great career. Bees wasn't kicked out. He was the more notable player as the second overall pick that same year, but he was actually fined $50,000. That hit him where the wallet is. He probably was just like, I spend that on weed anyway. So it didn't really matter. But it was just a funny heck story for Mario and the start of his career. And just to have the confidence, he probably was like the one saying, no, they won't know we're high as they go.
You know what it is? You know what I think? Mario Chalmers is the second round pick that year, kind of was little brothering with Michael Beasley, and then he got caught. He got into some trouble. And I think from that moment on, he's actually, you know what? I'm not going to be the little brother to anybody. I'm going to be big brother, or I'm going to at least try to act like it. And maybe that's why he always had that, carried himself the way that he did with on teams with LeBron and Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh for the rest of his career. Not to do too much psycho analysis here, but
I like my version better. I like the idea of Mario just saying, no, hell no, they ain't going to see that we're high. Cloud of smoke and red hooded eyes.
Did you see the shot I just hit in Kansas?
Yeah.
They can't kick me out. I was high for that. No, I'm just kidding. Recurring segments. This is our sliding doors moment. It's a what if moment that could have changed the way that this player is remembered. This was a tough one for Mario, because it kind of feels like if you played out Mario Chalmers' career 100 times, this is the best one. Right?
He is a sliding door. Like he doesn't have a sliding door moment.
Yeah. But here's what I came up with. If the Heat win the 2008 draft lottery, they take Derrick Rose number 1. They don't take Michael Beasley number 1. Everybody wanted Derrick Rose that year. Derrick Rose played point guard. They don't acquire Mario Chalmers in the second round if they draft Derrick Rose number 1 overall. They got their point guard of the future. They don't need Mario Chalmers. That's an interesting sliding doors moment. Not so much for Mario Chalmers, because he would have just played for Minnesota somewhere or did something like that. And maybe he would have played well in Minnesota. They needed a point guard for years.
But think about that. Like, then he doesn't become the guy who thrives alongside the big three. Then he just like that. He would have frustrated Minnesota fans. Like, you mentioned that Mario sure has some confidence. Yeah. Huh?
You could argue the big three never happens because it's Derrick Rose and Dwayne Wade's team at that point.
That's a whole other sliding door there. But yeah, that's incredible to proceed. Yeah, because then Bees gets traded to Minnesota that same year, 2010, after they acquired LeBron. So it's
And maybe they would have played with each other in Minnesota after all. Beasley and Mario Chalmers were always meant to play together and win a Big 3 championship together. Shout out to Mario Chalmers for hitting that shot, by the way.
I don't know. I couldn't come up with anything else. Like
Yeah.
I tried to include the Linsanity thing because I still think it's something that's remembered. Even recently, I think I saw Dwayne talking about it in a podcast, and he brought up specifically Rio and Norris Cole and how they just shut down Jeremy Lin. But that was just par for the course. You knew Mario was going to be pissed off. It's like, oh, this guy is getting more notoriety than me. I'm the best point guard in the league. How's he going to do that? So you know what? He shut him down pretty good. That was a real, yeah.
Is he jersey worthy? Yeah, come on.
Yeah, that's Mario Chalmers.
I might get a Mario Chalmers jersey.
You should, if you were a Real fan, you'd have a Chalmers 6 jersey just to be like LeBron who?
Yes, I thought that was going to be one of your trivia questions, by the way. But it's too easy. That was too easy.
Yeah.
I want to get that Rio Mario jersey. You're right. A Chalmers 6 jersey. By the way, you know what? Can I ask for that? I don't ask for anything from the Miami Heat organization. Is there an old Mario? I don't know if it was stolen, but is there an old Mario Chalmers number 6 jersey hanging around? I won't wear it. I won't ruin it, but I will display it proudly for the Lockdown Heat podcast. I don't know what kind of marketing that is, but that would be sick to have that in the background of this show.
A Chalmers 6 jersey. If anybody's going to steal it, would probably be Mario.
He's probably paying the old cop to get his jersey back.
This is the memorabilia you should be stealing. This should be hanging above the rafters.
What do you want the 2012 LeBron Finals jersey for?
Yeah.
There's a nice Mario Chalmers number 6 jersey from 2008 in there somewhere. Does he pass the Jones-Battier-Zoe test?
Interesting. Because like part of it is he thrives because he's playing a role alongside 3 Hall of Famers. So would he still thrive with this current version of the team? I'd have to say yes. Like we would love him just the same. Like I think Heat fans would hate him, especially now with social media being what it is. That wasn't around during the Big 3 era to the same extent, but I just imagine what would have happened, the vitriol he would have unleashed for every bad pass or every missed shot. But yeah, he could make plays. He was a solid defender. And he was a pretty good scorer. Yeah, I mean,
really good at getting his hands on the ball, generate steals. I think he led the league in steals among rookies his rookie year.
Yeah.
So
I go. I'd love for him to be in the locker room. To be honest with you, I'd love to see him in the locker room. Be like, they should have given me the ball just in the last second. Why'd you lose by 20? Well,
10-game losing streak. This is why. No, I think the answer's got to be yes. He could play next to Tyler Hero. He was a good defender. Like this is so the Jones-Battier-Zoe test is Mario Chalmers at his prime. We're taking these players in their absolute Heat prime. And in his Heat prime, Chalmers was a good defender next to Dwayne Wade. Probably even, I would argue his Heat prime was probably right before LeBron and Chris Bosh came, like those first couple of years where he was really aggressive defensively. Mm-hmm. If you had that Chalmers next to Hero and Powell and these guys, it's not quite Davion Mitchell, but then offensively, he's way more polished than Mitchell is offensively. So I think the answer is yeah. I don't know if he would start. He would come off the bench probably, but either way, if you had him on the roster, it would be helpful. Versus pin this player against the player who came before him and ask if we got it right. Mario Chalmers versus Alonzo Mourning at number 11. It
both
feels
on
like
the Mount Rushmore of Heat players, right?
Damn straight. In any other exercise, this is not even a debate. It's Alonzo Mourning with a bullet. But in this particular exercise, when Alonzo Mourning, his best seasons were cut off by the last 25-year timeline, I think we got it right. I think it's Mario Chalmers.
Yeah.
2 championships.
I agree there. Yeah. Well,
in the entirety of his career. Yeah.
He was on the team. But no, I mean, this 8 seasons with Miami, that's more productive. And a part of those, a significant part. And he did have his moments in big games too, like in the finals. Again, never shy about taking the shot. Would have been more than willing to take. Yeah, would have been more than willing to take more shots in the stretch, but that LeBron guy kept getting in the way of his glory. But yeah, I think he absolutely deserves to be recognized as better than Alonzo Mourning. Not over the aggregate of their careers, but over their respective Heat stints starting 2000. Yes.
Let us know what you think in the YouTube comments. Have you softened your stance on Mario Chalmers? Do you more fondly remember that time that he was with the team, or are you still just like F Rio? like that band at Churchill's. The Locked On NBA Top 100 is here, voted on by the NBA host of the Locked On Podcast Network. Our top 100 was formed by experts who cover these teams and players every single day. So find the full list on Locked On Sports Today on YouTube, wherever it is that you listen to your podcast. Don't miss our reaction here on the Locked On Heat feed with episodes from reacting to the top 100 throughout the week up in your feed. Thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. This is our last episode of the week. Have a great weekend.